Okay, we're live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest, a returning guest, somebody I've done now. Today, it'll be the 15th show, which is amazing. But we're going to talk about a book he just published. It's the third showing, so it's the third part of a series titled Hollywood Aliens and UFOs. This one is titled Hollywood Aliens and UFOs, third showing, Close Encounters of the 666th Kind. And then the last one, second showing, was subtitled The Spice of Alien Life. And the first one was the day stood still. So we're going to talk about this one. Very interesting chapter. Obviously something of interest to me, which is UFO occult, something I've kind of looked into as well, but also some movies that I have not seen. But Ken can talk more about that. So Ken, Ammi, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. I'm delighted to have you back. I'm sure people at this point, if they've been on my podcast or broadcast, they know your name. Can you talk about kind of the arc of all three books and what led you to the third showing, Close Encounters of the 666th Kind?
Yes, well, aliens and UFOs, all quote unquotes, has been an interest of mine since I was in the sixth grade. So it's kind of natural that, I can't claim ever since then I've always been on top of everything that's going on because, I have a life I need to live and all that stuff. But definitely been just a subject of interest of mine all along. And having written movie review books about, say, movies with transhumanist themes, movies with various other themes like the whole Alien and Predators franchises, all those. Then I thought, well, maybe I'll do a book on movies with alien and UFO themes. Except when I got to page 500, I thought, okay, this is getting to be a bit much less when I got to page 600. So then I decided to just turn it into a series. So now each book roughly averages 150 pages or so, typically covers two movies. And I think that's better for the reader because they're just a little more digestible and kind of easier to get through. And I begin every book with a chapter or two with just background elucidating information, whether it's government involved high tech, or in this case, well, I'll mention it in a second. So I try to generally cover two movies per book that are in the same genre. And obviously the main genre would be aliens and UFOs, but subgenres as well. So in this case, I matched up two of them that I think by the title, it's kind of a spoiler. It kind of gives it away. And this is the quotation that I used in the book back cover and also the title page. Here's a quote. Satan's not such a bad guy. We become what we are. And ultimately, that is to be like our makers, to become gods ourselves. And that's from David Childress from the Ancient Aliens TV show. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and I always joke that I keep saying TV show. I'm sure I'm supposed to say like Wi-Fi streaming service show or whatever to remain hip. But this is what you're getting in Ancient Aliens. That Satan's not such a bad guy and that we should become gods. Well, that right. Is very much a biblical statement, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's very much in keeping with some of the aspect of the phenomena of quote unquote aliens and quote unquote UFOs, right? So for instance, in this case, I begin with a chapter I titled UFO Cult. Okay, and let me, if I may, just read a few quotation marks.
Please do.
From that chapter. Okay. So here's one from Lynn Cateau. A large part of the available UFO literature is closely linked to the mysticism and the metaphysical. It deals with subjects like mental telepathy, automatic writing, and invisible entities, as well as phenomena like poltergeists, manifestations, and possession, in quotes. Many of the UFO reports now being published in the popular press recount alleged incidents that are strikingly similar to demonic possession and psychic phenomena. Okay, then there's a Dr. Pierre Guerlain, I'm sure that everyone can get the spelling of that. Guerin. And he says that UFO, quote, behavior is more akin to magic than to physics as we know it. The modern UFOnauts are the demons of past days and probably identical. What is quite certain is that the phenomena is active here on our planet and active here as masters. Trevor Constable says a working knowledge of the occult science is indispensable to UFO investigation. And I mean, I could go on, and I do in that chapter. Just
Right.
that kind of quotation, particularly coming from secular people, mind you,
Right. Good
is
point.
just and it's you essentially can't separate aspects of the alien and UFO phenomena from the occult.
And let me just mention, you've written another book on the subject titled 50 Shades of Gray Aliens. And you can find this book and that book at his website, truefreethinker.com.
Right. So, and one thing I mentioned in the 50 Shades of Gray Aliens is how we really need to define the term alien and UFOs before even discussing them. And in fact, UFO is now being viewed as a sort of outdated term. Now you're supposed to say UAPs, right? And so UFO can mean various things. It could refer to, well, for example, when people started reporting seeing black triangular UFOs, and then we found out about the stealth fighter and the stealth bomber. So UFO at one point could be revealed to have been just good old-fashioned government military high tech, whereas UFO can also mean a variety of things, from literally just, hey, what is that? I don't know. Okay, it's a UFO, to weather phenomena, to swamp gas, to you name it, orbs, all sorts of phenomena that are just kind of slap this label of UFO, much like aliens, right? What is an alien? Well, if it's a literal extraterrestrial, then you could say by definition, then God is an alien, right? Angels are aliens. Biological entities from another part of our universe are aliens, or from another dimension are aliens. There's just so many things that could be described under that main category that it's really essential to, if we were doing a talk just on aliens and UFOs, we would kind of dig into that rabbit hole, because it is important to define those terms. But in this case, I'm just kind of perusing movies and absolutely noticing patterns. In fact, in one of my books, I was saying, how many times do I have to make the same exact point during this series of book reviews? Because all these movies have certain common patterns. And such is the case with these two movies that I review.
Just before you get there, one of the interesting things that I took out of the UFO occult chapter was all of the communications these people are having are similar to messages from mediums and mystics, right? So the UFOs or aliens or whatever they're contacting with are similar to that, but they're also almost, at least in my opinion, uniformly Gnostic. So their opinion of the New Testament and Old Testament is almost just like these guys come right out of the stage left, out of the Gnostic entryway. It's incredible. So they morph biblical precepts very, very comfortably, much like a Gnostic person would. So I think that's important. Sorry. So please go.
Not at all. That's an important point, and it does touch upon the movies reviewed in this book, in fact. So for example, you also have some research has been done on the fact that the names that these UFO related alleged intergalactic groups take, or the names of individual supposed aliens, are often the names of ancient gods and demons, right?
Right.
Like in the Billy Meyer case, Semyaza, which I've seen transliterated like 10 different ways, because it's a name that comes out of the book known as First Enoch, or Ethiopic Enoch. It's a pseudepigraphical text. And one of the main fallen angels in that book is Semyaza. I mean, you can't just accidentally happen upon a name like that, right?
Right.
Or the there's so many when you look that kind of are reminiscent of names of gods, goddesses, and demons or supposed
Right, and
angels of days gone by.
you do see that theme in the movies that you cover in this, at least in the 6 Days on Earth movie. You see that same theme of these old gods being referenced.
So I will say I selected 6 Days on Earth. Well, okay, I should say it's an Italian film, so it has like it's been transliterated various times in English, so the movie can be found as 6 Days on Earth or just 6 Days, and also Alien Possession. So go ahead. And it's by Varo Venturi, who essentially turned his real life worldview and philosophy about this issue into a movie. He calls it sci-real versus sci-fi, right? That's his concept, sci-real. So he's really putting forth beliefs he actually holds for real in the form of a science fiction movie. Oops. And the other movie, The Fourth Kind, I would say are extremely hardcore in a particular way that, for example, I know, and I know you know, people who at least claim to have suffered from tremendous trauma, particularly in their childhood, often related to ritualism, okay, like occultism. And I have a friend like that, particularly, who I wouldn't even want to mention these movies to him on the off chance he would venture out and try to watch them, because I know it would be, it would definitely cause him to dissociate. And I'm afraid of the kind of trauma he would have to face when watching these, because the way that they're done and the story they tell, it's very, 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 very dark. And it leads to all kinds of issues of trauma and dissociation and possession and the occultism and everything you could imagine. So that's why I matched these two together. And I mean, you have explicit scenes in 6 Days on Earth of somebody having these memories of what are supposed to be gray aliens, right? And then like a reptilian alien as well. But they show up with like a pentacle on the front of their whatever alien attire. And like, well, what is that? What on earth is that about, right? And then the protagonist is seen undergoing an actual occult ritual right here on Earth. And so it's kind of combining these visions of manipulation by aliens, that's mental and physical, juxtaposed or really correlated with the occult rituals that are taking place right here on Earth. And that's kind of sort of the point of the thing, which is that they're kind of, they go hand in hand.
Right. And I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like some of the pictures that you have in there are like flat out aliens and occultism melded together.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the things about this 6 Days on Earth movie, or Alien Possession, is that supposedly this aristocrat, this elitist girl, really, is possessed, and by an alien that calls itself Hexabor of Ur. Okay, Ur. So if you think back to Bible days, that's where God called Abram to leave, right? Abram, who was later named Abraham, that's exactly where he lived, in Ur of the Chaldeans. And God told him, get out of there. You need to start moving towards where eventually your ancestors are going to live, which is the land of Canaan that came to be known as Israel. So this alien is claiming to have been an entity from way, way, way back to the days of Ur. So you're talking millennia ago, and somehow it's still running around in disembodied form, possessing. So again, you have this thing about demonism and alienism, I guess, just joined at the
Melded
hip.
together, right? I mean, it is pretty incredible. I mean, it's like this guy. I mean, he has all this magical stuff interspersed as well, right? Trismegisto
Yeah,
references Hermes
right.
Trismegistus.
Yeah, it's like I said, he's basically putting his real life conspiratorial type philosophies on screen, and so you see a lot of this coming out, even in subtle stuff. Like maybe most people would just run across that name of one of the characters in the movie Trismegistus and just not think anything of it, or Trismegista. But we understand that he's trying to tell us something occultic by that. And incidentally, the person who plays that particular character is the director.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that he puts himself in his own movie,
Right.
portraying himself, elucidating some of these, like I said, real life views that he has. So yeah, that's how badly it seems to me he wanted to get the point across that this was real, is to say, look, here I am. I mean, I'm in my own movie telling you all this stuff.
Right, and he also what was the this movie was from 2010, right? So it's fairly recent. I think it was 2010, right?
Relatively.
But so then it's like this theme that you have in the introductory chapter. Some of these characters, Enki, Enlil. So you see going all the way back to Sumeria, right? Sumerian gods.
Right, and again, those are just in the movie. Those are just the names of some of the characters. In this case, they're just a couple of 20-something. Club going DJ and rave attending guys. But if you think about their names and you wonder what that's all about, then, well, that's the point. He's throwing these, he's kind of cryptically putting these names in the book for anyone who might actually recognize or think about or look into what they might mean.
And what's the arc of the whole kind of narrative of how does the movie progress? I didn't quite pick that whole thing up.
Well, it's basically a psychologist or psychiatrist who has been dealing with people who are claiming to be having experiences with alien abductions or just some kind of interaction with aliens. And then he ends up happening upon this girl. I'll say she's like maybe in her teens, late teens, perhaps. And it ends up turning out that she's, like I said, an aristocrat. Her parents are elitists, and she's tied into an elitist bloodline. So then you got that whole thing in there. Right.
It's like he got all the conspiracy themes and just threw it in like
threw them in the blender and turned on the blender. Yeah. But I mean, for what it is, I think it's well done, and it's very captivating, I would say, and it's very emotive, right? Because it is a young girl who's going through all this suffering and trauma, and it makes you feel for her. And in the meantime, you also have the involvement of certain government agencies, secret agents going after them to try to get her because she's of course she's an aristocrat, and so you have from every angle, right?
It's like Stranger Things or something like that.
Yeah, right. And basically, they're just trying to figure out how to exorcise her of this alleged alien that claims to have been worshipped way back in the days of Ur. And I'm not sure that they exactly end up pinpointing, well, then what were you back then? Were you some guy? Were you a god, an alien? But I think one of the points is those lines are supposed to be blurred, where alien and God basically are blurred into there's this entity and he's disembodied by this point and he's going around possessing people, and they take it to be an experience with alien abduction. But then again, we we've been saying all along. It's correlatable to the occultism and ritualistic
It's like
trauma.
SRA, satanic ritual
Exactly.
abuse, right? Yeah.
Right. And that, by the way, even MIT in the early 90s did a study on the similarities between people who claim to have had encounters with aliens and people who claim to have been satanically ritually abused. MIT did that. It's not just something that we're saying or claiming or noticing. And so it's kind of interesting to see how that's made it into so many UFO and alien movies. I remember this, I don't remember the title, but I remember noticing that in one movie, the UFO, the underside of it was a pentacle. Well, come on, how in your face can they be? Whether they're, and I mean, so I can say I'm noticing all this stuff. I don't know why anybody's doing this. I don't know if that was like, we're revealing what we know on the inside, or this is just kind of a hip, trendy point of view to take nowadays. So we'll put it in a movie. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying it was there, right?
Right. No, it's there. I think there's another Spielberg movie that has the pedo symbols and all kinds of weird stuff, kids. So you kind of see those themes. This movie makes me think of Labyrinth with David Bowie, like kid going through the maze and all kinds of symbolism and cult references and things like that. Right. They have like the Psy-Real, a new cultural revolution. So don't they have like other themes of that in here? Like, like blurring reality and fiction, right?
So Psy-Real is the documentary that basically is supposed to explain to you the actual research and theories that went behind that led to the making of a movie that we would call sci-fi. So that's kind of supposed to be the real thing. And since all this is Italian, I had to kind of poke around quite a bit and, for instance, download press releases and then running them through a translation system, just whatever I could to get any kind of insight into what they were actually claiming. Fortunately, you should be able to find Psy-Real in this one in English, or else you'll find it subtitled.
Gotcha. Because I think there's this, I think I saw the promo for this movie. There it is right here. Let's see if we can pull it out. How did you come across this film? It seems kind of obscure.
It is very obscure, and I don't recall exactly how I came across it, but in just trying to find interesting movies to review, because I'm just kind of reviewing any that strike my interest. They might be from the 70s, they might be brand new, they might be cheesy, they might be high tech. I mean, it doesn't matter to me as long as there's something in the worldview of the movie that I think would be interesting to elucidate for the reader. So I would imagine that's how I ended up running across it.
Yeah, so they have it all here: the UFO conference, DNA. I mean, this guy, he had definitely some broad understanding of kind of internet ideas.
Yeah. That's why I said it's like he put them all in a blender and turned it on, and this movie came out. So it is interesting in terms of how many strings he attempts to pull together. Like right there, they're looking at an ancient cave beneath the Vatican, and they're finding the symbolism that helps them decipher how to attempt to exorcise Hexabor of Ur. I mean, it's all under the big top, folks.
Right. So he has the pentagram on one guy, then the hexagram or a hex, whatever reference. So he's got the 5 and 6 number of magic, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's more like upside down triangle made of 3 triangles. Yeah. Oops.
There's the demon, levitation, all that stuff.
There it is.
There it is.
And ultimately that exorcism from that scene happens at a rave, because they figure out if they can play certain frequencies, then it affects the alien. And so that's an interesting part of it too, how raves have been also sociologically correlated to just ancient ritual dances. They just happen to be high tech. I mean, you have the same thing. You have the thumping rhythms, you have the pharmaceuticals, you have it all. Yeah.
And the guys who've actually put it together are occultists. A lot of those guys have been found to be in secret societies or something like that, or have esoteric leanings and sensibilities, and that they're the ones who support it. So, yeah. Do you see the old world become new with technology?
Yeah, just like Porridge. What's the guy's name? Porridge?
Genesis P. Orridge.
Yeah. Genesis P. Orridge was into that scene. That's exactly what it was all about for him.
Sure, it was. And that smiley face was actually one of the first uses, was the rave scene, occult, techno type stuff. And that was his music,
Acid
really.
House and all
Acid
that
House,
stuff. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what else about this movie do you want to cover?
That's pretty much it. I mean, the thing about my style of movie reviews is I essentially walk you through the entire movie. It's not like I'm describing every single scene, but enough so that it does take you from beginning to end. That's just what I like. And meanwhile, I'll go, hey, I noticed this, and that's based on that, and what have you.
And where did you find the movie?
Could almost do a read along for.
Do you know if it's on Amazon?
What's that?
Do you know if it's on Amazon Prime or something like that? I wonder if it's on.
Oh, I don't know.
I wonder where people can go.
But you're most likely to find it under the title Alien Exorcism.
Alien Exorcism.
Yeah, which kind of gives it away, but
there it is. It's on. It is on. Well, I think this is it. I think it's on. You can stream it on Prime. Vero Venturi. Yes, you can see it. Hour and 47 minutes. So if people want to go rent it for $2.99, they can. Do you want to move on to the next film? Do you want to cover the other one? What is it?
The Fourth Kind.
The Fourth Kind. Yes. Referencing Encounters of the Fourth Kind, right?
Right. So this one was very, very interesting in terms of that they claim to have based it on real, true life events. So basically in this town in Alaska, they were having a slew of people who just disappeared. Okay, that's pretty much period, full stop right there. It had nothing to do with aliens, nothing to do with UFOs, nothing to do with abductions, nothing whatsoever in real life. But then what the director did, who is Alatunde Osunsami, what he did is to say, okay, we're going to take that real life mystery and we're going to tie it into the abduction phenomena. And they went as far as like setting up fake websites of fake newspapers to report all of this stuff and the investigations that have been done, and you name it. I mean, there were lawsuits filed because obviously that was an actual case of fake news.
Right.
And a lot of people up in Alaska were very upset because
it was supposed to be Nome, Alaska, right?
Nome. Yeah, Nome. And I mean, these were real people who lost real family and friends and co-workers, and now this guy's just turning it into a sci-fi movie about alien abductions. So it was really interesting how they went so far beyond just saying based on a true story, but they fabricated a phenomena. They fabricated a worldview of its own around those real life events. So that was really interesting. Yeah.
Wasn't the narrative supposed to be like true, like real documentary, real-time documentary, almost like Blair Witch Project or something like that?
Right. So for instance, they claim that there's this Dr. Abigail Tyler who experienced some of this because she was the town psychiatrist and she was dealing with people claiming to have all these weird experiences. So, but now in the movie, there's two different people that play Abigail Tyler. One of them is playing the allegedly real Abigail Tyler, and one of them is playing the movie Abigail Tyler. They're both the movie Abigail Tyler. There is no actual Abigail Tyler. But what the movie does is intersperse scenes of a supposed documentary style interview with the real one versus the dramatized scenes of the fake one. So even then, they're really kind of doing what is a form of misinformation or disinformation, right?
Right.
And even the director himself is the one interviewing the allegedly real Dr. Tyler.
So it's just like the other movie. It's just like the other one where the director's in the movie, 6 Days on Earth, right?
Yeah, and even then, he's not playing himself as a director because he's using a different name even. So it's really contrived, and that's kind of what I found most interesting about it as far as the arc of storytelling, right? They made you really work to kind of figure out, well, wait a minute, what is actually going on and who's actually real and who's actually not, right? Because part of the story is that Dr. Tyler has a memory of an alien attack upon her home, and her husband ended up dead. But of course, the local authorities aren't buying that, so they're trying to figure out what on earth really did happen. Did she have anything to do with it? And then even when there's scenes of her memories of that event versus what allegedly really actually happened, you have this, again, this blurring of the lines between what's real and what's not, what's delusion, what is hallucination, what's just sort of half-baked memory versus what's real. And it's really throws you off. It's part of the reason I'm saying I wouldn't want certain people to watch this, because it would really mess with them, because some people have really experienced this sort of thing.
Right. So it's like they're deliberately doing it kind of like as a psychological thing to trick the audience or mess with the audience, right?
Right. Especially because while the movie was coming out, it was all about, well, this is real. This is based on real events. It's just dramatized. So that just was an extra layer of this, right?
Right. I've never heard of either of those two movies. Like I had never heard. I don't even remember the fourth kind coming out. It must have been somewhere else. I don't know. But it does have, what does it have? Mila Jovovich.
Yeah.
Elias Koteas. I've heard of those.
So I would say it's probably one of her least known movies, because she's a very popular actress. She's very well known for a lot of her movies, but this one is kind of like you have to kind of poke around a bit in order to find it.
Right. But, I mean, I think she's in The Fourth Kind, and then the other one, what are those movies about? I can't remember. She's like the one that based on the video game. I think she's in that too. Yeah,
the Umbrella Corporation and
Resident
Evil.
That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, she's been in so many more, like Ultraviolet.
She's always in these weird action movies, usually, which is weird. I don't know how she gets those ones. What else about?
I mean, it's because she's physically capable of doing those kind of movies, and
right.
Some superficial males might find that she is somewhat alluring, whatever.
Yeah, never know. What else about this film would you recommend?
So now in this movie, one interesting thing is that as Dr. Tyler's trying to figure out what's going on, she runs across one of her husband's old books that is titled Dead Languages Sumerian. And in there, she finds the phone number of a certain Dr. Oduzami. And so she contacts him, and she's trying to tell him that some of her patients are starting to speak in this bizarre language that's unknown to her. It turns out that it's Sumerian. So basically, that's why I put these two movies together, because you have the same exact concept, that these are actually alien gods from millennia ago on Earth, in the earliest of human civilizations, and they're still here, and they're coming back, and they're not very happy with us, and they're possessing us. And I mean, it's a whole same exact thing about occultism and the alien phenomena. I mean, it's all over this movie. That's the point of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it's just like the stuff I wrote about in Global Death Cult, bringing back the dark gods, presencing the dark gods. Uh, anyway, so I mean, I guess that's the repository, and it is actually of the occult, is to really have something that far back legitimizes your present occult stuff. So if you can go all the way back to Samaria, then you're kind of legit.
And you know what? It's interesting that you mentioned that, because recently I was interviewed about issues pertaining to Judaism, and I talked about rabbinic Judaism, and I mentioned how they claim they have the written Torah, sure, but they also claim they have an oral Torah that, guess what? We didn't just come up with it. No. It was given to Moses secretly at Mount Sinai, along with the written Torah, and he just passed it along orally. And then Kabbalists came along and said, well, guess what? Moses also received an oral mystical teaching on Sinai that he passed on secretly. And so it's this kind of building authority, right? It's like, we didn't just come up with this. It goes way, way back to Moshe himself. And I always tell the joke that, Moses was up there receiving the oral Torah, the oral mystical teachings,
the Kabbalah,
and the written Torah. So no wonder his face was glowing. His head was ready to explode,
Right.
But then if you think about it, then so Catholicism does the same thing. We not only have the written Bible, we have the oral traditions from the apostles that go way back, and even Islam does the same thing. We not only have the written Quran, but we have the Sunnah and Hadith, the sayings and doings of Muhammad that go way back, and everybody's kind of saying, as far back as we can take it and add authority to what we're claiming today, the better, right?
Right. I mean, it's amazing. And my understanding, somebody I interviewed said that the Christ's real contestation with a lot of these sources that he was up against, the rabbis, was because of the oral tradition that they claimed from Sinai.
Yeah, in fact, you can discern that if you pay attention to when he says something like, it is written versus you have heard it said. That's a clue right there.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I just had a discussion. Somebody, this is off topic. I've done hundreds of hours of interviews. On not just for my own station, but with other people. And somebody picked out a statement that was said where I was referencing another rabbi who said that the Jews today, I had repeated something where I said a lot of Jews are sympathetic to Jesus, who's really a Jewish Messiah. Originally, the Jewish Messiah became Christ, or he is Christ. But I'm just saying originally it was in that language. And I said they were sympathetic, and somebody picked that up. So one statement I said, literally 10 seconds out of hundreds of hours, and really went off on me and said, look, I've read the Talmud. I've read all this stuff. I've read, all this stuff. And he said, once a person says that, they're not Jewish. And I just immediately thought of you and said, I didn't know what to say. I said, well, that's your definition. That's how you close it off. That's how the rabbis always close off this stuff, is to immediately say, once somebody believes Christ, who was Jewish, if you believe, Matthew has his whole genealogy.
Which, by the way, that violates the halakha. The actual official authoritative Jewish law does not say anything like that. That's just the opinions of individuals.
Right, I agree.
Because the halakha knows that since a Jew is identified as theological as well as genetic, then you can't undo your genes, right? So in that sense, you're still Jewish. You can't help it. And then, I don't want to rabbit trail, but I did, in my book titled "Is Jesus the Messiah? A Judaism versus Judaism Debate," I got a whole chapter about this kind of stuff and how many Jews will say, "Oh, you can be an agnostic and be a Jew. You can be an atheist and be a Jew. That's fine. But if you claim Jesus is the Messiah, that's the cutoff point."
Right. That's what this person was.
Yeah,
he was a very nice
that's
person.
A popular,
But I just thought it was interesting that somebody really went through all of my stuff to find that one thing. They didn't complain about suspect guests or me bungling something. It was that person is, once they say Christ is the Messiah, they're not a Jew. It's not that funny. It's too bad. Anyway.
Another thing in this movie, The Fourth Kind, is these occurrences, these alien interaction occurrences, are happening right around 3 a.m.
So it's always kind of like the witching hour or whatever.
Exactly. The witching hour. I don't know if it's true, but people claim that the reason it's considered an occult thing, the witching hour, is because it's allegedly the reversal of the time Jesus was crucified. So if you just flip it over, right, it wasn't during the time of the day he was crucified, but it's directly at the same amount of time, hours later at night. But regardless, that's been it's been consistently known as something to do with the occult. And in this movie, they throw that in there. Like, this is when that stuff is happening.
Right. Oh, it is interesting. I mean, there we go. His trigger warning says Ken is a machine with his content output. Yes, he is. He has tons of books. You can go see them all and buy them all. And I suggest you buy this book at his website, www.truefreethinker.com. And you can sign up for his email. So he sends emails out so you can see what he's up to. I get his emails, see what other interviews he's doing and stuff like that. So go there, buy the books there, and sign up for his email newsletter.
They call me the machine. They call
That's
me the
right.
machine.
In the machine. Is there anything you'd like to add? We're at about 40 minutes. Anything you'd like to add? Anything I missed before we wrap it up?
No. Well, I guess yes. So when it comes to books like this, almost in the way that the first director is doing things, where he's putting some of his own worldview into his movies, this is kind of like me not just saying, hey, check out this movie because it's a good movie and there's good cinematography and acting and all that stuff, but it's like somebody's trying to tell us something, whether it's real, whether it's imagined. I mean, it's a little hard to know, but that's why I'm interested in the worldview behind these movies. What are they trying to tell us through them? So in this case, how is it that two movies are just hitting upon virtually the same exact concept? And that then it forces you to look at, well, what do these terms mean when we use them? That's why I began by talking about that. At what point does an alien become a god and a god become an alien? At what point is there just no distinction and we're just playing word games about something to do with a disembodied entity or an embodied entity that for some reason traverses dimensions or travels the vast distances of the universe to come here, traumatize us, tell us that the Bible is false,
right?
And tell us to form a one world government and one world religion and worship the earth as a goddess. I mean, wow, really?
Right. Very interesting. It should make people sit up in their chair. Again, the title of the book is Hollywood Aliens and UFOs, third showing. And the subtitle, this is the third part in the series. The subtitle is Close Encounters of the 666th Kind by Ken Ammi, published, I think, September 2021. And you can go get it at truefreethinker.com. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you all, and God bless.
God bless. Stay there.